Our world is a place of extraordinary beauty, of life in all its forms. But there are places where the veil between our world and the next wears thin. Places where the echoes of the past linger, whispering on the wind. These are the haunted corners of our earth, where the stories of those who have passed refuse to be forgotten. They are the shadows that stretch out from the past, reaching for us in the present. Join us, if you dare, as we venture into the heart of these unsettling tales. We will explore the chilling true stories of those who have encountered the unexplainable, who have borne witness to the spirits that walk among us. The American frontier, a land of promise and peril, was a place where dreams were forged and broken. It was a vast expanse of untamed wilderness where the brave and the bold ventured in search of a new beginning. The frontier was both a challenge and an opportunity, a place where the strong could thrive and the weak could falter. Here families carved their homes from the wilderness, transforming the raw, rugged land into a place of hope and possibility. They toiled day and night, cutting down trees, building log cabins and cultivating the land. It was a labor of love and determination, a testament to their resilience and spirit. It was here in the early 1800s that the Bell family embarked on their journey. They left behind the familiar comforts of their old life, driven by the promise of a better future. The map of early America was dotted with the dreams of countless settlers, each one hoping to make their mark on this new land. In the untamed wilds of Adams, Tennessee, the Bell family sought their fortune. The dense forests and rolling hills of Tennessee were both beautiful and daunting, a land of mystery and potential. It was here that John Bell, his wife Lucy, and their children hoped to build a new life. John Bell, his wife Lucy, and their children arrived with dreams of a prosperous future, their wagon laden with all their worldly possessions. They envisioned a homestead where they could live in peace and prosperity, a sanctuary from the hardships of the world. But little did they know, their arrival would awaken something dark and sinister. Unaware of the darkness that awaited them, they set about building their new home, blissfully ignorant of the malevolent entity that lurked in the shadows. They built a homestead, a sanctuary from the unforgiving wilderness. The log cabin stood as a symbol of their hard work and determination, a beacon of hope in the midst of the wild. They worked tirelessly, turning the raw land into a place of comfort and security. Little did they know their arrival had disturbed an ancient presence, a force that had lain dormant for centuries. This malevolent entity craved not solitude but torment, and it would stop at nothing to make its presence known. The entity began to reveal itself in subtle ways, a shadowy figure glimpsed in the forest, a sinister face peering from the darkness. It was a presence that could not be ignored, a force that demanded attention. It began subtly, whispers in the night, voices that seemed to come from nowhere. The family would hear strange sounds, whispers that sent chills down their spines. It was as if the very walls of their home were alive, echoing with the voices of the past. Strange rapping sounds within the walls of their home, knocks and taps that could not be explained. The family tried to dismiss these occurrences as tricks of the wind or the settling of the house, but deep down they knew something was terribly wrong. Unexplained occurrences that could be dismissed as tricks of the wind, the creaking of an old house. But these were not mere coincidences. They were the first signs of the terror that was to come. The family tried to rationalize the strange events, attributing them to natural causes, but as the occurrences grew more frequent and more disturbing, it became clear that something far more sinister was at play. But these were just a prelude to the terror that was to come. The Bell family had unwittingly awakened a force that would haunt them for years to come, a malevolent presence that would test their strength and their sanity. The entity, a sinister force that would become known as the Bell Witch, grew bolder. It began to speak, its voice a chilling rasp, like dry leaves rustling in a graveyard. It taunted the family, revealing intimate details of their lives, secrets whispered in the dead of night. The children, vulnerable and afraid, were tormented relentlessly. The entity, it seemed, delighted in their fear, its laughter echoing through the house like the tolling of a funeral bell. John Bell, the family patriarch, found himself the primary target of the witch's wrath. It cursed him, predicting his demise, a prophecy that would cast a long shadow over the remaining days of his life. Desperate for respite, the Bell family sought help from neighbours and even consulted with spiritualists. News of the haunting spread like wildfire, attracting curiosity seekers and skeptics alike. Among them was a young man named Richard Powell, a schoolteacher drawn to the mystery. He would become deeply involved in the case, documenting the events and attempting to unravel the enigma of the Bell Witch. But the entity, it seemed, thrived on attention, its torment intensified, its voice becoming a constant presence in their lives. The family was trapped, their home transformed into a prison of fear. As the days turned into weeks, the Bell Witch's hold on the family intensified. Objects moved inexplicably. Furniture overturned as if by an unseen hand. The air grew heavy with dread, every shadow a potential hiding place for the malicious entity. John Bell, once a robust man, began to waste away. His health deteriorated rapidly, his once strong voice reduced to a whisper. The witch's curse, it seemed, was taking its toll. The family, their spirits broken, could only watch in horror as the entity tightened its grip on their patriarch. Their once peaceful existence had become a living nightmare. In December of 1820, John Bell succumbed to his illness. Whether his death was a direct result of the witch's curse or the toll of relentless terror, we may never know. With John Bell's passing, the entity's reign of terror seemed to abate. The torment ceased. The whispers faded into silence. The Bell Witch, it seemed, had claimed its prize. But the story doesn't end there. Legend has it that the Bell Witch vowed to return, to haunt future generations of the Bell family. The haunting of the Bell Witch remains one of the most well-documented and chilling paranormal events in American history. Was it the work of a vengeful spirit, a manifestation of collective fear, or something else entirely? The truth, like the entity itself, remains elusive. But one thing is certain, the story of the Bell Witch serves as a chilling reminder that there are forces in this world we may never fully understand. The Bell family's homestead stands no more, reclaimed by the wilderness. But the legend of their torment lives on, a chilling testament to the darkness that can lurk in the shadows of our world. High atop a windswept hill in Louisville, Kentucky, stands a monolithic structure, its decaying facade a haunting reminder of its troubled past. This is Waverly Hills Sanatorium, once a beacon of hope for tuberculosis patients, now considered one of the most haunted places in America. Built in 1910, Waverly Hills was designed to combat the tuberculosis epidemic ravaging the nation. At its peak, it housed over 400 patients, all desperately seeking a cure for the deadly disease. But Waverly Hills' story is not one of triumph over adversity. It is a tale of suffering, despair, and the countless souls who breathed their last within its walls. In the early 20th century, tuberculosis was a death sentence. Treatments were experimental and often brutal, leaving patients weak and disfigured. The death toll at Waverley Hills soared, and a palpable sense of despair settled over the institution. It is said that the staff, overwhelmed by the sheer volume of death, began to dispose of bodies discreetly. A network of tunnels, originally used for transporting supplies, became a macabre passage for the deceased. These tunnels, known as the body chute, are now said to be haunted by the spirits of those who made their final journey through its depths. Over the decades, Waverley Hills has been abandoned and left to decay, but the stories of its haunted past continue to draw paranormal investigators and thrill-seekers alike. Visitors and investigators have reported a myriad of unsettling experiences: unexplained cold spots, disembodied voices whispering in the darkness, and shadowy figures lurking at the edge of vision. Room 502, once home to a young nurse who tragically took her own life, is a particular hotspot for paranormal activity. The year is 1974, a time when the world was a different place, a simpler place. The Vietnam War had just ended and America was in a state of transition, seeking peace and normalcy. In the quiet town of West Pittston, Pennsylvania, Jack and Janet Smurl lead an ordinary life with their young family. The town itself was a picture of tranquility, with tree-lined streets and friendly neighbours who knew each other by name. Their home, a modest duplex, is filled with the warmth of laughter, the comfort of routine, and the promise of a bright future. The children's laughter echoed through the halls, and the smell of home-cooked meals wafted from the kitchen, creating an atmosphere of love and security. Little did they know, a darkness was lurking on the horizon, a malevolent force that would soon shatter their peaceful existence. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly, like a shadow creeping into the corner of their lives. The Smurls were not a family who dabbled in the occult, nor were they prone to flights of fancy. They were devout Catholics, their faith a cornerstone of their daily lives. They attended church regularly, instilling in their children the values of honesty, kindness, and hard work. They were grounded, practical people, their lives a tapestry woven from the threads of work, family, and faith. Jack worked tirelessly to provide for his family, while Janet managed the household with grace and efficiency. Their days were filled with the simple joys and challenges of raising a family. Yet fate, it seems, had other plans for them, a sinister detour into the heart of the unknown. The first signs were easy to dismiss, but as the days turned into weeks, the incidents became harder to ignore. Our story begins not with a terrifying apparition or a blood-curdling scream, but with a series of unsettling incidents, subtle at first, like whispers in the dead of night. The kind of occurrences that make you question your own senses, leaving you with a lingering sense of unease. A door creaking open when no one was near. A sound that could easily be attributed to the house settling or a draft. But it happened too often to be mere coincidence. The faint scent of perfume lingering in the air, a fragrance that Janet did not own. Yet it would waft through the rooms unexpectedly, as if someone unseen had just passed by. A cold spot in a room otherwise comfortably warm, a chill that would raise goosebumps on their skin and send shivers down their spines. These were the first signs, the harbingers of the dark times that were to come. As the days bled into weeks, the disturbances grew bolder, more persistent. What started as faint whispers and barely noticeable movements soon escalated into a full-blown haunting. The once peaceful home now felt like a battleground, with an unseen force, making its presence known in increasingly terrifying ways. Objects began to move on their own, furniture seemingly imbued with a life of its own. Chairs would slide across the floor with a screech, and tables would shift positions overnight. It was as if the house itself was alive, rearranging its contents to suit some unknown purpose. The family would wake up to find their belongings in disarray, a chilling reminder that they were not alone. The television would switch on and off at random, the volume fluctuating wildly as if controlled by an unseen hand. Static screens would flicker to life in the dead of night, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Sometimes the TV would display strange, distorted images that left the family feeling unsettled and confused. It was as if the entity was trying to communicate, but its messages were lost in translation. The family dog, once a playful and boisterous companion, grew skittish, whimpering and cowering in corners, its eyes wide with an almost primal fear. The poor animal would bark at empty spaces, its fur standing on end as if sensing a presence that the humans could not see. The dog's behavior only added to the growing sense of dread that permeated the household. The children, too young to comprehend the horrors unfolding around them, nonetheless sensed the shift in the atmosphere, their laughter replaced by a nervous silence. They would huddle together, whispering about the strange occurrences, their innocent minds struggling to make sense of the inexplicable. Bedtime stories were replaced by tales of ghosts and monsters, and the once cozy home became a place of fear and uncertainty. Still, the Smurls clung to the hope that there was a rational explanation for these events. They gathered in the living room, discussing possible causes and comforting each other with reassurances. Perhaps it was all just a series of coincidences, they reasoned, or maybe their minds were playing tricks on them. They tried to maintain a sense of normalcy, even as the evidence of the supernatural grew harder to ignore. Perhaps faulty wiring, they reasoned, or drafts within the old house. They called in electricians and inspectors, hoping to find a logical explanation for the disturbances. But no matter how many experts they consulted, the strange occurrences continued unabated. The house seemed to defy all rational explanations, leaving the family with more questions than answers. But deep down, a seed of doubt had been planted, a growing unease that whispered of something far more sinister at play. The family couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that an unseen presence lurked in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. As the days turned into nights, the Smurls found themselves trapped in a nightmare from which there seemed to be no escape. The veil between the ordinary and the inexplicable was ripped asunder one fateful night. The air grew thick with a palpable dread, a suffocating pressure that seemed to squeeze the very breath from their lungs. It was then that the entity chose to reveal itself, no longer content with mere whispers and shadows. A guttural voice, laced with malice and dripping with an ancient evil, reverberated through the house, taunting them, threatening them. It spoke of things dark and unspeakable, of suffering and despair, its words searing themselves into the very fabric of their being. The Smurls were now prisoners in their own home, terror their jailer. Sleep became a distant memory, replaced by a constant state of hypervigilance, every creak of the floorboard, every rustle of leaves outside the window, a potential harbinger of unimaginable horrors. Desperate for respite, for a return to the normalcy that had been so ruthlessly snatched away, the Smurls sought help from anyone who would listen. Priests were summoned, their prayers and blessings offering only fleeting moments of peace. Paranormal investigators arrived, armed with crucifixes and holy water, their faces etched with a mixture of fascination and fear. But the entity remained, its grip on the family tightening with each passing day. The Smurls were trapped in a waking nightmare, their lives a relentless cycle of fear and despair. Their story, once an ordinary tale of family life, had morphed into a chilling testament to the unseen forces that lurk at the edges of our reality. The entity's reign of terror escalated, its manifestations growing increasingly violent and disturbing. Objects levitated in mid-air, furniture overturned with impossible force, and the air grew thick with the stench of sulphur. Scratches appeared on the walls, as if clawed by unseen talons, each mark a chilling testament to the unseen rage that festered within their home. Janet, once full of life and laughter, became the entity's primary target. She was physically assaulted, thrown against walls, her body covered in bruises. Her spirit, however, proved unbreakable. Fueled by a mother's fierce love, she refused to surrender her family to the clutches of this malevolent force. Word of the Smurls' plight spread beyond the confines of their small town, attracting the attention of renowned demonologists, Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens, veterans of countless paranormal investigations, recognized the severity of the situation, sensing a darkness within the Smurl home that chilled them to their core. The battle for the Smurl family's souls had begun. The Warrens, armed with their faith and years of experience, prepared to confront the entity, to delve into the abyss that had ensnared this ordinary family and threatened to drag them into the darkness. The Smurl family's harrowing ordeal serves as a chilling reminder that the line between our world and the realm of the supernatural is often thin and permeable. It reminds us that even in the supposed safety of our homes, we are not always alone. If you have ever experienced something unexplainable, something that defied logic and chilled you to your very core, know that you are not alone. Share your story, for in the sharing we shed light on the shadows, and perhaps find solace in the knowledge that the unknown, though terrifying, is a vast and intricate part of the world we inhabit.